welcome to another Astral interview. And here with me I have Gerald O'Donnell. What a pleasure and what an honor it is to have you with us. Thank you. So before we start, I thought it'd be a great idea if you could talk a little bit about your past, about, you know, where you grew up, who you were, what made you get into this metaphysical reality to understand it better. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, you're on my physical reality, where I was born and so forth.
Well, let's start with you.
Yeah, I was born in France, Paris.
Okay.
Many moons ago, and I'm not going to reveal my age.
Well, you look amazing for your age, whatever it is.
250 now, we get that. Right, so I was born in France. I was educated in France, and I got a good education, and then left to overseas. I came to the US when I was young and studied there. Did some graduate studies in mathematics and computer science and business. What else? I was I always felt different.
Okay.
It's like I took the wrong road when my soul was projected by mistake. It's a specialty that I do have in general, right? So I ended up here. And I remember as a kid always wondering, trying to understand why were adults so messed up? What are they fighting about? What is this whole
Yes, of course.
Right. And another problem that I was having is that I always knew, and this is still a problem now, I always know what people are going to say before they say it.
Okay.
But when I had any kind of discussion with people, especially adults, I would get, passionate about something.
Yeah.
And I would not let them talk. I would just already answer what they were going to say. And at first, they were like looking at me, but most people don't enjoy that because they get scared.
Yes, because they see you as a mind reader, right?
Well, I'm not really a mind reader. I'm just it was already decided on the higher plane what they're going to say, and they were just going through the process. So I just already knew what they were going to say. Yeah. The level of the higher mind, which is not linear.
Right.
I understand. So I would interrupt them all the time, and finally I learned to hold my my speech and be a little more polite. So I knew that I had these abilities. I was connecting to nature very strongly, to animals. And at a very young age, I got interested in the, so to speak, art of hypnosis.
Okay. Did you take anything to do with hypnosis, or did you study it, or?
Yeah, at first I studied it from books. I was very young.
Right.
It was not that common in France yet. So many people used to come in and find me dead on the floor and just get into a fit because I wouldn't react. But like 15, 20 minutes, they realized I would tell them I'm just meditating and going and that's how it started. Really.
Right.
And then I went into very, very deep states. And then I took this as a profession, not as a profession to make money. I wasn't doing it. But I took a lot of courses in it, and then I started realizing it's like, I don't know, I don't think I was taught. I was just opening myself to what I already know. Right. Most people, this is what happens. You don't learn anything. You're just opening yourself to what you know, which means you already know. To a higher self,
Right. Right.
And knowing comes in, and then there was a whole bunch of adventures. Which, if I tell you this, it would take hours on end.
Well, tell me about the most significant events in your life, metaphysically, spiritually. You said you went into different states of awareness, practicing this hypnosis that you were studying at the time. Is there something that stands out for you that might have led you into what you do now?
If you're talking about remote viewing, I was doing remote viewing before I had the incredible experience that I had later. But
okay. So
remote
tell us about your journey in remote viewing then. How did you discover it? What made you go into it?
it was natural. I would just go into a deep state and just perceive things, especially about the future. It's not so much that I would go spy on, the neighbors or, I could do it, but I was not interested. My main focus was to perceive what is about to happen. I have a very high level of intuition, extremely high, which I
Right.
still do right now. And it's not easy because you always seem to know what's going to happen, so things are boring because you don't get any major surprises. It's like now I'm watching TV and I know in 7 months I know what's going to happen already. And it's been like this forever.
Okay, so it's been like, so you've been able to know what's going to come before it comes forever, like on a humanity scale as well.
Yeah, especially humanity scale.
Especially on a humanity scale.
The more global, the more impacting it's going to be. The less the path is going to, you can affect the path. You can if you go very high, but most people don't do that. So I can do it on the level of humanity. Yes, I would usually. I don't know. Even lately, let's say I don't like to go into politics, but when
yes
came down and he announced his presidency, he's the next president. So I told all my friends because he was like, and they thought I'd lost it totally. And then because he was like a joke at the beginning.
Yes, anyway. Of course, and possibly still is, but
it still is. So and then I was living from the beach and I met this friend of mine who was in the UK and he's running a gigantic investment company. And he listened to me and he said, listen, I don't believe this is going to be the case, but if you're not convinced, why don't you go and bet in London with a bookie and make money on that? Because I think it's like 20,000 against one.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it, of course, because I'm not into, gambling or taking advantage of the information.
Yes, I understand.
And then he became. The same thing happened with the law. I was in the middle of doing a year and a half of meditation, very high meditation. I cannot go into the details. I was told to lay down and did not stop. Well, first, there were 40 days. I wasn't eating, wasn't drinking, and then it continued for a year and a half. And one day, I think I was doing the 40 days. I'm told I disconnected TV. I didn't see anybody. I was just like becoming a super monk in my cave. And great things were happening. And someday I can only get up and then reconnect the television. And I go, are you guys serious? And then he said, yes. So I walked to the TV and I had to reconnect all the cables and so forth. Then they told me, put the news on, so I put the news. And then this black man comes in announcing his candidacy. Nobody knew him. And he's going to be the next president. So I went to my friends and I told them that I just got that he's going to be the next president. Same reaction. Going crazy. He's the youngest senator. Nobody's ever going to put somebody like this. So same situation. Right now, I know it's been 7 months and I've been told that he will not be reelected. That there's going to be violence. And eventually, all this will stop. There's a reason for it.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so let's go back a bit. Let's talk about remote viewing. How were you introduced to it? And why did you even look into it? I understand you have this experience. And so did you learn about remote viewing and then decided you want to expand your experience, or was it something different?
No, I was using this a lot. I had a lot of contacts all over the world. I used to travel around the world. And I had some parallel military background. I'd done some intel work as help. And I was not like full-time with it. And people knew that I had this particular quality. At that point, I didn't even know it was even called remote viewing. It was barely, talked about. And I was contacted in Europe by a group of people. They tested me, and then they put me to do work for them, especially training special ops.
Okay.
It was a different type of training. Again, it was not about training for them to look into exactly what's happening in a nuclear plant in some other country. even though I could do this. I mean, I would monitor them, and if I trained them, they would do it. But that was basically so that when they operate, they can sense in advance danger, like any animal does, because
Right.
animals are their higher self.
Yes.
Humans are not the higher self.
Okay.
Even though they are the higher self, there is a lag between the perception of the human and the perception of the higher self. So the higher self knows in advance within the paths that are open in the matrix which path you are about to enter. Because in the reality, you've already either made the choice or the higher self, which is you on the other side, it's really you,
Right.
has made that choice for you. But there is a lag. And so animals, since they're always connected to the higher self, see the event before it's even played out on this. So they what I call a traveling consciousness. So we are all traveling consciousness. We have experiences in this world pretty well.
So animals versus humans. Humans have all the faculties that animals do, correct?
No.
No.
When man was created, the big difference, and let's see, you know, most very old tradition, they say that man is created as a shadow, a similitude, but as a shadow of the creator. And a shadow means that it's you, but you don't perceive it because it's an inversion of you as far as characteristics. It's attached to you. You cannot take away the shadow unless you're Peter Pan and you lost your shadow and you're panicking. But if you're not Peter Pan, usually your shadow is with you. But the shadow, which is, by the way, a story in itself, the shadow self is you. We are here on this plane. We are the shadow to the pure light that's reflecting itself into this reality. To be able to experience this as an experience.
Right.
So the shadow itself has a certain lag, a certain separation that we have from our higher self. Animals don't have it. If animals are wounded, they just go back out.
Right.
Okay. When we out of body, it's more than out of body. They rejoice. We only do this at night when we're sleeping, but nobody's aware of it because it's hidden with dreams. So while at night you rejoin your higher self, the memory bank that you had is uploaded into the higher self of the experience, and the next day is prepared for you. Sometimes more than the next day. It's like you're having a conference with your higher self.
So an animal can go outer body at will whenever they want.
Yep, it's an animal. I've been told. I used to go to safaris in Africa, not to hunt, but just to watch the animals. And they already know that let's say a lion is about to attack a gazelle. That gazelle knows it's about. They will do anything they can, but at some point, they know it. That's it. At that point, they don't stay in their biology anymore. They leave.
Right.
And you can even say that it's not the same thing as of course, killing a human. The pain is lesser. They're already out.
So that makes me want to ask the question about reincarnation then, or the idea of transmigration or right. Something like that, because is all of nature the same in that then, or is there differences? Like, we know humans have higher intelligence than animals do. Maybe a different type of intelligence. Maybe we shouldn't say higher intelligence, right?
A more
very high intelligence. Yes, of course. Well, I believe that animals have their intuitive intelligence developed to the fullest, whereas we have our intuitive intelligence, but we aren't aware of it.
Well, we can develop it, yeah, or we can inherit it.
Or we've been made dormant of it for some reason.
Yeah.
And then we have the intellectual faculty as well, which we can employ, which the animal does or doesn't have now.
Correct. Yeah. Well, the intellectual, it's interesting. The animal, being purely its higher self, understands the mechanism of life. Some animals are here on a more permanent level than a dog, would say. because when you start blinking, reality blinks in and out. It's not continuous. We have this impression of it being continuous.
Right.
But reality keeps on blinking in and out. And every frame of reality is attached logically to the frame before, so you have a sense of continuity and logic and sense. So life makes sense to you. It's not about you have one frame and then suddenly you're in Hawaii and then find yourself on a different planet. It has to make sense because that's animals are aware of the moments when they go in and then they come back in. So they're aware of for them to basically die is something that they accept easily because this is the other part of themselves. This is the higher part. Not that
right.
they enjoy life. Yes, of course they enjoy life. But humans have less of an awareness of being in the higher self. As a matter of fact, they don't have an awareness. Most people don't believe that they have a higher spirit or a soul. I mean, everybody knows the idea of a soul. But
right.
what's the soul? They're going to tell you something that you only meet when you pass on. No, the soul is attached to you. If you wouldn't be attached to you, you wouldn't exist. You are a projection. We are just projections of our soul.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, because you often hear that everything is energy, everything is light and sound. And so where's this distinction of the soul then if everything is energy? Is this soul an actual material that's separate from the energy that we experience, the light and sound around us? Or is everything soul and then we're just living or moving or having our being in soul like the Bible says?
The soul is not one level.
Okay.
The soul is a multi-level dimension that goes up to the level of the unity consciousness. Now you can have different types of unity consciousness. You can have what I call the global consciousness of a creation. Let's say this earth as one global nexus, concentrated. So that global takes care of the earth and everything goes back to it. When the earth, let's say creation, is folded back in, which happens not once, many more times on the thing. Because when the creation is hopefully succeeds in rejoining the one, when that creation is folded back in, the consciousness of the beings go back to that global consciousness, which is encompassing everything, but at the same time is the nexus. So your soul right now is going to be, at least for most people, is going to be within the global consciousness of this creation.
Okay.
And in order to go higher, you can go to global consciousness of many creations because there are levels of it. It's like a B tree in mathematics. So you will have literally to call upon. You have to position yourself at the level of the nexus of this creation. You have to position yourself at the level of the global consciousness, which you can do it just by going very deep. That's
okay.
Super conscious. And then at that level, you can ask to connect to what will be the global consciousness of all creation. And that's an experience that's only given in that particular source, the real source, the one that starts contracting within the infinite void that's totally quiet. And there are little spirals creating. There are many of them, but every single spiral is the nexus of all the creation that it encompasses below it. You understand? Because mind.
I understand.
Everything.
So it's cyclical.
It's mind spiraling itself. In it by itself, you know, everything is spiraling. The galaxies are spiraling, but the galaxies are really mind. You are right now spiraling, but you have like a gyroscope that makes you believe that you're stationary. I mean, if you were being aware of, so to speak, the movement of the planet, you'd be walking like a drunkard. As a matter of fact, if you do become drunk, that's how everything spirals because you lose this gyroscope.
Okay. So I'm just going to share an experience I had just a few days ago with you, and it totally scared the living daylights out of me. But anyways, it was dark. I was just in like this sleepy, wakey state, and I was in my room. It was dark. It was like everything was 2D, and this being appears, and they sort of materialize in 2D though, not 3D. Just like something materializes on a TV screen in Star Trek kind of thing. And then when I got startled of it, it disappeared. And then I got up and I turned the lights on.
You were meditating or sitting there?
I wasn't. I was just sitting there. I was contemplating. I wouldn't quite say meditating. I was contemplating. And the idea I was contemplating was this idea of apparitions or ghosts. I was thinking about them at the time when this experience happened.
Whatever you're going to put your focus in life, whatever that is, with enough intensity of emotions, which is really energy. Emotions is our way of expressing energy. This is why on this level, some sub-creators would rather have, because it's easier for us to have lots of emotions of fear, which is for them more powerful, so they create situations. They're the ones creating the situation with us, yeah? So that they can then use that energy and then create through it. So as you are getting, and you get at that level when you perceive yourself as highly energized, you will then enter a particular path, and that there are many paths. So, the quantum physicists who think that there's a multiple universe or an infinite amount, they're right, but they not travel. They can be traveled eventually by other entities, because you can repeat the same situation with different entities. You traveling is your traveling. You may have being into a totally different creation. That's possible. But when you make a choice, that's your choice. You have entered that particular door. So when you start focusing on a particular door, if you, let's say, whatever, it's a belief system, it could be a myth, and that myth becomes real. In the old, I know I'm going to sound crazy, but in the old times, I'm convinced, let's say at the time of the Greeks, and that the semi-gods would appear to them physically.
Right. Because they were so concentrated in their meditative faculties.
They were concentrating on those forces. They will associate those forces usually very often to planetary constellations or planets, which do have forces, but they're not outside, they're inside. And then since they were focusing on it, it was like a gentleman's agreement. And I said, okay, I will show myself to you. But in reality, it's all a hologram. So the hologram will show itself to you. Now, if nowadays the mythology has changed and people want to see, 400 years of a dragon, and slay it, you would see dragons. I've seen books written in France in 1610. They are like newspapers. They're just telling you everything that happened, and they would see in front of Paris, on top of Paris, a dragon flying. Some people would say, oh, no, it was a flying saucer. No, it was a dragon. It was definitely a dragon because people believe in dragons, so dragons were there.
Right.
All civilizations have dragons, from the Chinese to the Middle Eastern civilizations everywhere. Right now, people don't see dragons anymore. So you see something that's more fit to your society.
Physical reality or physical society.
It's more technologically oriented, As a matter of fact, if you see any kind of flying saucer in the 1950s, they look like the technology that we had in the 1950s, those heavy computers and dials and so forth, and it was like heavy metal. Right now, it's like, it looks very modern. It's like they dance with us. So
okay, so the UFO or the dragon or whatever is just a metaphor of something.
It's like everything else. It's not it's a metaphor, but everything else.
But because if its form changes, whatever it is, its form is changing, whether it's a dragon, whether it's an old school UFO, whether it's a modern day technologically sound UFO, the form is changing. But what it is what it is. I mean, what it actually is it something different in every situation?
Absolutely. The only reason we are here, if you were to see who you really are, you're just a point of light. That's it. Right. Vibrating, having your inner light within, very condensed, and you're like a computer of a size that you're basically a quantum computer, because all your realities are superposed. In quantum, you have big qubits, and they all superpose, showing different modus operandi of operations. And it's like if I go on the screen of my computer and I delete a file, this is a virtual act. I think I deleted the file. In reality, this immediately connects to the high-level compiler that will take that file. Usually it doesn't delete it, but just takes away a pointer to that file.
Yeah, I know.
And it goes up to the level of the machine language, which goes up to the level of the hardware that's doing flip-flops and then doing something. You're not even aware of it. All you know is it deleted the file. So we are living at the level of the sensory interface. We are here feeling, seeing, talking in reality. We wouldn't need to talk if we were in different creation. We would be totally telepathic. But in order to get the sense of separation, so we can create more interesting stories and have this feeling that we don't exist connected, and then lose the idea that we are connected to the same spiritual entity which gave birth to us. It's not an entity, it's the infinite. So we were given this ability to use language. Animals use language much less, not because they're more stupid, it's because they communicate telepathically all the time.
Right. So then, okay, but we can communicate telepathically as well.
We eventually will, as you go higher, there is no more need for separation. When you go higher, not only in vibration, but in perception, because it's not just like you put you can vibrate yourself as high as you want if you know how to vibrate. It's not necessarily going to bring you to the high vibrational level because you don't fit the quality of that vibrational level. If you fit the quality, you're part of it. That's it. At least you will experience it. And then eventually the whole idea is to become the way the one is, which is multidimensional. So you are aware of being in the screen, but you're also aware of what's going on in the machine, and you can program it at that level, and you can go down to the hardware.
Okay.
But you don't even need to, because we were given, us as human, the keyboard, and we were given the use of language in order. That's why the word is important at our level, because by the use of language, this is the secret of so-called magic. When you say something, you're just plugging it in. This is then connected to a program inside a compiler that listens to what you say and decodes it, and in the background will change reality and change path for you or recreate new path. Usually they get you a path and they just adjust it so that you are in the path that you want. So again, going back, if you want to see something, like you wanted to see a ghost, let's say, that was your interest that day. And since you're already powerful because you've done a lot of the work, the most probably the ghost was showing you, you're 3D, I'm below, I'm just a lower dimension, I'm on a 2D level. But I can appear to you.
Okay.
And the whole idea had nothing to do with a ghost. The whole idea is for you to realize the power of who you are.
Right.
So if you're looking for, to win the lottery, okay, you may win the lottery. I don't know how much it's going to teach you, besides the fact you're going to dance around. But if you're seeing beings seem to be much higher, they can really teach you. But it's really you. They can teach you. The universe is teaching you something through these beings. Sometimes you open a book and the universe teaches you something through a book.
Right.
Sometimes you go outside and there is a hobo in the middle of the street that says something that you've been inquiring, a question mark you had for forever, and he's just
there it is, and like this.
He's not a hobo. He's not like he got downloaded this out. He's there for you. So you pay or don't pay attention. So this is really a school for consciousness, to a distillation of consciousness to a higher level of awareness, which then makes the one happy, because the trick of the one, there's only the one. The many don't only exist within the one. The trick of the one, it's like they say in the Matrix. What is the trick of the one? The trick of the one. To go down into the many, create the many. At first, the one used to create the many out of himself, meaning he would separate, fractalize itself. But there was still a knowledge that the one, all those parts knew that they were a part of the one. So therefore, they had all the qualities, or at least a great amount of the qualities of the one. They could create like this by thought. That incredible amount of energy, and they could create. But this became boring to the one as his parts, because he realized that there was no much learning, because he was just copying, making a copy of himself, trying to see what's going to happen, but nothing was really happening. You know, there was no real learning. So in order for him to have a great learning, he created a system whereby reality, let's say my reality right now, in the old times, reality would be a gigantic hologram and everybody would be walking within that hologram. And as an example, okay, you realize as you do this, you become aware that all the beings are you. Right. The animals are you, you are you. And I've had that experience once. I went to that level. So you think of something, it appears. You know?
Yeah, been there.
As a matter of fact, it's hard to keep it stable. It's something I used to see a gardener, and he would be gardening, and suddenly I turn my head, I come back, he's gone. You know? So, or I would think of somebody, boom, they suddenly appeared from the car, and he said hello. I knew they were holograms.
Right.
It's fun maybe for a day or two, or for a year or 10 years, but the learning is lesser. When you come back to this dance, what you think is a dance world, your power is still the same, but you've totally forgotten who you are. And then you may act in weird ways, and that gives the one the ability to not recognize in the many that they're him. So he may get upset at his own manies, and the many might think that they don't have a connection to the one, or they make illusory representations of the one, or stories about the one, or about God, or about a man that came. Do you understand? And that's how. And it's interesting to the one up to a certain point, because the trip of the one is to go from the one as much as it possibly can go to the many. In order to create the many, he creates the modus operandi of the system, the general rules of the system of the many, and then the sub-creators, which are parts of himself too, because not only does he project beings that are in 3D, there are beings that remain in the spiritual realm, call them angels, call them sub-creators, and their role, because they are programs, their role is very high, is to achieve at the beginning, when the one is spreading itself in the tree of creation with many branches, because the tree starts from the roots and it starts spreading its roots. And some fruits fall down and create another tree. So when all these gigantic creations are being spread out and created, the role of the one is to learn the experience of who he is not.
Okay.
To be able to experience who he is not.
So while the one is experiencing who he is not, we are experiencing who we are.
We are just the extension. It's like asking me, once I asked, when, you know, in 2008, when I had these experiences, I asked the one, what is this all about?
Right.
Why the suffering was over? Yeah. He said, this is going to stop soon. And then he showed me himself, of course, as a gigantic being. He was cleaning the bottom of his feet. And he said, this is where we are. We are the contact point between the one and what we consider to be the earth.
Right.
We are his feet. And he said, without my feet, if they hurt me, if I have pain in my feet, I can't walk. I need my feet to be in good shape and then follow my direction. Not to, you know, I want to go right and then the foot wants to go left.
Right.
But there are forces, programs that increase constantly the level of separation and division. Not because they're evil, because that's the only way by which the one can create the many that we forget that they are the one. So they have very ingenious ways of blocking the one from intervening.
Right.
So he cannot just go, I can take this, bye-bye. So there are ways, I can go on, that will take like hours to explain that. But there are ways whereby the one is basically sandwiched inside his own dream. And then he cannot do everything he wants at that level. You can always stop it forever and then go back and then start a new creation. That he can do. But to operate and rebalance the whole creation is very difficult. And those forces have taken, and that was expected, have taken a life of their own.
Right. So as an individual, all of us out here, the one basically can handle himself, but all us individuals out here who are dealing with our sufferings, whether it's pain, whether it's whatever it is, whatever suffering it is, relationship, money, whatever suffering it is, what is your advice to that individual for not coping, but for transcending all these sufferings? One, going to get to any higher state anyways until they transcend all these sufferings. So that would be the first step anyways, correct?
No, the suffering is created on purpose.
Okay.
In other words, if I want you to stop playing in the kitchen, because I think you should do something else, I will make sure that you get burned a couple of times as you're cooking or start a fire. Then, in other words, the pain is a propeller. Now, most people don't see it like that. You know, they go, "Oh, I have pain. Give me some pill." Or they don't understand the pain is a message. Not only that your body has a trouble somewhere, but it means that you have to change, and that can be not physical pain. It could be emotional pain. It could be financial pain. You have to change your way of looking at yourself, not the world. Because as you change yourself, your world, which is but a reflection of you, remember that the world is projected by higher levels of you, the soul, which is really already not embodied, disembodied. They are in what the quantum level calls the implicate order. They operate at the level of the waves. They're not operating at the level of particles. As a matter of fact, it's not even true because, interestingly enough, and that's really, I can go, there are particles that project waves. Okay, that's hard to understand. They're like, each one is like a quantum computer.
Okay.
So, and then they project reality to you. You see the reality all around you. But in reality, this reality is projected from within out. You have a point of light inside of you that's extremely, extremely strong, and people are not aware of it, which is really the one. You have the one within you. That point is, as you focus, lights up the matrix and the hologram that it will project out of you, okay? Then there is outside of you a gigantic ball of light, which is still you, but that's like the level of the global entity, which is projecting the hologram around you for you. At the highest level, these are just codes. They're sounds that come down. It's like in the matrix, you see the codes coming down. There are codes, but as they come here, they get decoded by our brain, and our brain suddenly sees this 3D world. And every animal has a different system of brain so that he adapts and operates at the level they should be. The only one that's really gives surprises to the godliness is the human, because the animals don't change. They're perfect. I mean, they will just stay. Plus, there is no accumulation of memory back. When an animal dies, if an animal has learned how to, I don't know, start fire, as an example. I have a cat here, and she's learned to use toilet paper by herself. I can guarantee you that she's given birth, you will not see that continuation necessarily on the child, even though they claim that some monkeys have done certain stuff. But that's during the same period. They don't accumulate knowledge. However, humans do. We keep on accumulating it. So our trip, as the many coming from the one, is to jointly rejoin the one. Our trip is to go from the many to the one. And the level of the one, his trip is to go from the one to the many. So there is two movements, from the one to the many, like say, take a triangle, you know, where the one is on top. He spreads out, and that triangle is always active. And our trip is that we are trying from the many to rejoin the one. You understand?
I do. Okay. I do. So it's a push and pull kind of movement.
And it's at the same time.
Okay.
You know, it happens constantly at the same time.
Okay.
Right.
So how did you come to these conclusions, Gerard?
Because I've experienced all this.
Okay.
I'm not reading. I was given a gift. I had a lot of experiences, and without much. It's not I'm told what happens, but I have the knowing of it after I experience it. I'm not the same, and I understand things in a totally different way. I've touched levels that gave me an understanding of the background to creation on a very high scale. And you can find it now, you know, in quantum physics. A lot of this now is in quantum physics. even though they still don't have it totally. I mean, they know, they understand that it could be a wave, it could be, and then they understand it can be both. Some people have gotten to the point where they understand that reality is only when you look at it, and then it's not there anymore, especially lately. But it's not so much about understanding it's how to evolve into rejoining slowly, because otherwise you'll have a shock, and helping others rejoin the one. So all the parts that from the many exist within the one in the way the original creation existed.
So the immediate question that begs right now is, where's this one come from?
The one is a number. One is unity. It's not a name.
Right.
I don't know, whatever language you know, I can give you like 5, 6 words for that, and it still means one.
Right.
You know, it's really unity. It's the core that spreads the dot, non-dimensional dot that started creating dimensions.
Okay, so here's this dot, but then this dot is surrounded by all this other stuff when I see a dot.
Yeah, but imagine, okay, we're going to go back to the beginning of, you want to read the beginning of creation? Imagine an immense ocean, totally quiet, where there is, that I cannot understand, because that's beyond thought. Okay? Yeah. There is no, and within that infinite thought, infinite ocean of consciousness that is aware of itself, that suddenly appears the desire to have a self-reflective thought, something to dream about, something to create, some environment to be projecting your thought and then receive a feedback, and then adjusting your thought again based on the feedback that you receive, and so on and so forth. So that's when, within this infinite quietness, which is been a lot of, well, I don't know how a lot, but some people have experienced, a point starts contracting itself and forming a dot of concentrated energy that you cannot even imagine. And then it releases itself by spiraling out. That's the real Big Bang.
Okay.
It's not a Big Bang where like suddenly all the planets were created. It's within the spirit itself, if you're going to call it spirit, within thought, pure thought. You have creative thoughts that come in, and it seems everything at that point, there is no time for the one. So the one can think linearly like us, like in steps, but at the same time, it thinks laterally. So there's this enormous lateral creation that starts happening at once in reality, because it's only the now there. There is no time. So
so then if that's happening in primordial time, it's also happening in temporal time, right?
Not yet. Because
not yet.
Really
so there is a progression. So there is a progression of time now then.
There is no time. There's never been time. That's the ultimate illusion. The time only exists as a sequence of events. Just look at it as a sequence of events. As a matter of fact, nowadays telling people, I just read it, which I've been aware of this for 10 years, or maybe I was already doing, that a day now is much less than it used to be 20 years ago. People feel,
I agree.
A lot of people have said quickening, they call it the quickening. They don't know why. They think it's the end of the world, or they think that we are going to go to 5D, 6D, whatever their explanation is. But they realize that the day is gone. Nothing has changed, because the Earth is still turning around itself, and it's still going around the sun, the star that gives us reflected light in perception, and then the spiral of the whole universe is still spiraling. So the important thing for us is to rejoin as we stay alive, because when you so to speak dead, you're never dead. When you rejoin the higher levels, you can't function, you cannot work on yourself. This is the most challenging level that the one has ever created as far as separation, this level. And the only reason he keeps it going, even though it's very painful, is because he at times, not always, goes down the whole spiral of creation and does project into some entities Usually they have a horrific life. And you want to ask me why? It's because the one has to understand, because it's very hard. I've been in touch, let's say angels, they don't understand pain. They have no idea. It's not their fault. So they can inflict pain on you because they don't know what it is like. And you have to scream at them, stop, because this is pain. They don't have this sensory ability that we have to experience.
Right.
So he goes down.
And they never have?
I'm sorry?
And they never have. So they don't even have a knowing of it or an understanding of it, or they don't even, is that right?
They have a knowing, but they don't have the experience.
Okay.
So when you hear stories of ETs that take people and torture, I don't think they torture them because they want to torture them. They want to understand what pain is like. They want to understand how this level operates. They want to understand when you have, what is a loss for a human being or somebody dear to itself. How the system, so that when eventually there will be a creation. It's not yet. What the one is going to expand, and I speak about this in my last messages. When the one is going to create together with us, he will become an incredibly good creator because he went through the experience of restricting his gigantic infinite mind into a little tiny weeny human, that's thinking about, should I buy this toilet paper or should I go invest in this stock or whatever? He knows, he went through it enough time so that, and he went through the joy too, so that he understands his creatures. And then he wants the others in between also to have. So you have beings in between also, like angels or sub-creators, that project into humans on purpose. It's not something evil. They come down so that they can feel this.
Right.
Experience it for a while, and then they come back and they learn from that. Do you understand?
I do understand. So, when I think about, Rumi says that there's a mineral soul, there's a vegetative soul, there's a human soul, there's the animal soul, and then there's the angelic soul, and so on, so on. So what is the distinction between these souls then? Because when you talk about humans now, automatically my mind goes to an ant. What about God's experience of the ant? How is that different? It wants to know that now, and why God would want to experience.
I'll tell you why. Because first of all, because he created the ant. He created all the animals.
Yes.
He created the chain of life, the interdependency of every single species, so that life can continue on the planet, including for us, through that chain. So I was told by the creator, he said, I went down, I created them, and I experienced them. There's not a single animal that I've not experienced, not only watched. He has no interest in watching. Unless you're an ornithologist, you want to look at the ants and insects or whatever, but usually that's not what the one wants. The one wants to feel what the ant is feeling.
Yes.
Okay. However, the biggest challenge are the humans, because and they say that all the others, especially the angels, are jealous of humans because we have the capacity to go to the lowest of the worst deviation of love, and going to total fear, aggression, tortures, and horrors. And we've done it enough times. That's been beyond proof. But at the same time, we can go up straight if we decide, especially inside, and enough people on a common accord decide to pull the creation up. We can go up straight and rejoin what they call the godliness, which are the many within the one that exists already now. There are many which are facets, operational facets. It's like an enormous ball of incredible intelligence and light, which we cannot even fathom. If you ever see this, it's like, but it's not something that you're going to see with a telescope. Sorry. Right. It's on a different plane. And that's the godliness. And there are many there that live within the one. And there in the Bible, they call them the first word for God is not God, that's English. It's Elohim. It means Elohim, the many. Yeah. Elohim is many. Every time you say him, in every word in Hebrew, it's many. And in fact, it means ocean. So it's what it represents is that within the ocean of consciousness that is the Godhead, there are creatures that stay, like operating from that level. And then these are eternal beings because the one is eternal. And they also project out. They make a connection, like a ray of sun, and they project out in some creation, or, and especially they create not only one creation, they create creational systems. That's their role. They're like the highest level of creation.
Okay. So okay, so the way I see this is God has this thought or desire to experience the many. So God didn't consciously create everything. It was this thought that manifested the result of what the desire was. Is that correct?
Well, okay, we're gonna go back. You're asking me to think like the one. All right. Do you know what the one is most afraid of?
Us not wanting to know him?
No? The one is most afraid of being lonely.
Right, okay.
It's the ultimate existential loneliness. When you're one and you cannot create in your imagination other beings and have this illusion that they're not acting according to your thoughts, that they are like helpers against you, you know, like Adam as his wife, it said in the Bible, she's a helper against you. She's provoking him. She doesn't follow his instruction. She's there, you know, she's the environment that he will then project himself to and give him children. So when this happens to God, he doesn't want to be self-reflective and then create. I had this experience. I was creating my own world constantly. I didn't want to stay over 24 hours. Because first of all, you're all by yourself. You realize everything else is pure hologram. There's no life force to it. And it's maybe fun for a day because you realize that you have all this infinite power, but then you just want to go back down. Where you're going to get lost with all the problems and pay your checks and then your bills and then have the credit cards running after you and so forth. Really, this is what we consider to have life, you know. So this constant movement is only gifted to humans, which are really the one incarnated here. Now, the one I told you experienced the animals, but he doesn't go now in a normal state. He only did that when he created that. He created that whole circuitry of life, what they call the chain of life, basically, of what gives life to everybody. But he does go down to certain humans now, and then the levels below him, they'll also go down to certain humans because everybody has to learn. They're all him. The sub-creators are him. But there is a force, that force of separation exists at our level, and we, through our energy that we have, through our emotions, and this level here is more in fear than in love. At the level of the one, since he knows everything is in himself, love is a natural process.
Right.
He doesn't even feel it's just, even though he calls him the son of the Elohim, he knows it's him. So he only takes care of himself.
Right.
Call it the ultimate egocentric, egoistic person, but at the same time the most loving, because he never has the feeling that he's helping somebody else. But he can get frustrated because of the system that he created, because those parts of himself do not realize that they're hurting each other and they're hurting the one in the process. They're hurting the unity because they are so focused, they've been so focused for so long into separation. This phase of creation right now is the most difficult phase in all over the world, because instead of having the one spreading into the many, into branches, trees, and then apples that fell down and created new trees and new seeds. Right. He now wants to reunite himself. And he doesn't want to go back to the one immediately. He wants to go through the intermediary process. He wants us to slowly get back to the notion that we are the one and get more and more, it's beyond powers, it's more creative forces that will create magnificent universe that he will not feel that he created from his level, that he allowed his children as they're climbing back up to create.
So, but if time doesn't exist.
The whole trip is the trip of the one. It's not our trip. Because we're the one. We're the one, but we're the one in drags, you know? Yeah. We're walking around, we don't know who we are. You know, every time I said, I'm so-and-so, what's your name? I've had a person, I've talked about the one for 20, 30 years. I just got an example. I got somebody writing to me. He said he has a website about the one, and he said, give me his name, and then I'll allow you to post. And I'm going, his name? There's no he's
It's
got no
nameless.
name, nameless, and he's got all names. He's
Yeah.
all names. And
He's both.
no,
yes, I get it. Yeah.
So our trip is the trip of the one, and we are his feet. He can't walk if his feet are getting pustules or problems and breaking. He needs us more than he needs anything else, because we are the contact with what he perceives as materiality, the earth,
right,
which is not material, but that's the environment that he wants to experience. And there are many earths, but I'm talking this one happens to be one of the most important. For some reason, I haven't gotten the whole reason. He even told me that if we don't make it here in this universe, all the other universes that are coming in and out here, they're coming to visit. Some universes don't even exist anymore. So that all the beings of those universes are coming inside here for protection, because they know this place is where the one is focusing the most and wants to unify himself back to his own roots, to himself. And then when that game is over, we're going to remain in the Elohim. He's not going to close the whole show. And then at that point, you and I, whomever makes it to that level, will become an eternal creator, sub-creator.
Okay, so I want to talk about senses a little bit. So in this reality, when I think of senses, okay, I have my sense of sight, I have my sense of hearing or whatever. And in my immediate reality, all of them seem to be functioning. But let's say when I look up to the sky, the only sense that really I can operate is my sense of sight. I can't hear what's happening up there. I can't smell what's happening up there. I can't taste, touch, anything, right? It's only my sight.
Well,
whereas when I look down, or I have all my senses. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I understand. First of all, we imagine that you're in your room, okay? Because they're gonna have the same thing. A cat creates a cat, a dog creates a dog, a human will create the system in which he was created.
Right.
So doesn't matter how you do it. You can use technology or you can use just mind alone. But let's say you use technology. They're about to create virtual reality machines where you're going to be projected into a different world.
Right.
And if this story here continues enough and then we're bored to stay home and watching each other through screens, we might just have like incredible adventures, No more Netflix. It's going to be like 5D Netflix. And then you'll be going to a different world. But when it's done, you take it off. So this is a sensory experience. And the 3D gives it reality. Matter is only light, modulated light. That's all matter is.
Right.
And some people, I'm not going to go into this, have had the experience of going through walls or in cars going through them because they realize they're just light. But then they go back to the old system because that depends on the operating system. When you back here, the operating system says, no, you don't go through that wall. Even though it's light. When you're on a higher level, the same wall you're gonna see, you go through it. That's not a problem. That's why people like CETs, they see them coming in and they don't make a hole to the wall to get you out. Because at their level, matter is more astral. It is more is not that real. It's not,
right. It's not as dense.
It's not we think it's dense, yeah. Because the system, the operating system is different at their level of their computer. It's different. Yeah. So the senses are crucial because we operate through that sense. Those senses give us the opportunity to think that we are separate from each other. When I'm looking at you, I live in a bubble reality. My universe is really what I can perceive as far as I can perceive.
Right.
No more than that. The information, I can have information about what's going on in Moscow or in Paris or some different planet, and I can mentally connect to it, but it's not the same thing. That's already connecting to the information. Here, it's not only is it information, it's translated into senses. all the senses. If you lose one sense, you can compensate with another, or
Right.
you can play with them. Sometimes you
Right.
can see without looking. Because vision is
Yeah.
really brain. You understand? And you
Yeah.
can develop that too. So we need vision so that we can discern faces, so we can discern beauty from non-beauty, so that a lot of women are going to put Botox. That's important, you know, and guys are going to want to be good looking too. So I'm just kidding. We have senses because it's enjoyable. Because when you have such a magnificent, imagine it's like a painting, but like beyond the painting, you go, every single part of nature is is has been created and painted by the one, and it's magnificent. And by the one, I'm not saying that the one himself painted all this. An operating system coming out of him, you know, a part that's defined here, that's operating here, created nature and all the possibilities in nature, and this changes all the time, and it connects and it balances itself out beautifully well. That's the pleasure that the one has in watching his creation. The aesthetic pleasure, not even the experiencing, but the aesthetic pleasure is there. That's why nature is so important to us. Besides the fact that we are part of nature, we won't be able to survive nature without.
So the senses are really the barriers that are keeping you from experiencing the one, right?
No, not really. No, there are higher senses. I've experienced it.
Right.
Even when you go to a level which is very high, where you can, so to speak, maybe go to a wall or something, which is irrelevant, really. You still have your senses, because that's the whole idea. It operates in a different way, but you have your senses. Not as acute as there, but it's not a question if the senses are efficient as here. It's a question, do you focus so much on your senses? When you're on a higher level, you focus on your thought. You want to create things. You want to, you realize that you're suddenly creating. So your senses are like put somewhere in the background. Here, everything is about senses.
I hear you. Okay.
People spend their whole life trying to get their senses excited and then feeling good about themselves. And it's the way it is, you know?
I hear you. So your senses are beneficial in this this reality, or this phase of reality, or whatever you want to call it. Whereas, like, I mean, when I meditate, for example, I'm shutting off my senses, right?
When you meditate, it's not so much that you're shutting off your senses, because if I were to preach you in the middle of meditation, you'd probably scream too. So you're shutting off the level of your brain, so that the brain is the one that's decoding the senses. The information about creation is coming to the brain. The brain is not creating reality. It's decoding reality and encoding it back to your soul. The soul is really sending the information. It's like going down and up. It's constant. There are two serpents, one with the head on top, okay, that's sucking the information up, and one with the head on the bottom that's bringing the information down. Those two serpents are intertwined.
Okay.
They're part of our DNA, but we don't read it. The movement is different. So that's why in the story of Jacob, they say he sees angels going up and down. Then they go up and down. One level goes up and the other one goes down. They're carrying the information.
Okay. So so everything's being recorded and they're carrying it. The information is being carried or recorded or stored in some higher consciousness.
Yes, up to the level until now of the global consciousness of this creation. The global consciousness, when the creation is over, will gift to the one the most important part, or the most glorious part of this creation.
Okay.
But this is the way it used to be until now. But what has happened here is that the one took a great interest in this creation from the beginning. Not only does he want to the global consciousness to close down the creation and bringing in the information, so that the one himself at that level of unity, because the global consciousness is also the one, like you are the one, by the way. Right. He operates on the level of focus. He focuses only on this creation, this universe. But the one wanted this creation to go down slowly and go past the global consciousness of this creation, and go higher and higher until it rejoins literally the one. That's never been done. And I don't know if we are given an opportunity that's never been given. We have gone down to the lowest of the lowest, really. I mean, you can go lower than this, but then there is no way out. And we were given the opportunity to turn around, basically turn around, face God, face the Creator, the real Creator, not only of this world, everything, the global consciousness of all creation, and then face. And as you face, He looks at you, and then looks at what you want, and you look at Him, and you tell Him what you want, and if it fits the modus operandi, the personality, if you want, of the one, which is just love, because that's what He feels.
Yeah.
And He's not asking, please go and do me a favor, just take care of me, but don't take care of this one, or just hurt this one. If you're ready to you are making love to God, and then it's face to face. Until now, recently, at first it was back to back. He was not even aware of what's going on here. He was concentrating on other world, and he would give it the energy back to back. Then slowly, I'd say, starting in the maybe 70s, he turned around and he started looking at us. But we were still in the back. He was facing our back, so he could influence us, watch what's happening, go inside of us and experience. But we were not turning around. He was hoping that the humans would turn around, seeking him. He offered this. I have messages since 1991. When he says that, he's begging his children to turn around. He's here. And then he says, you're the savior of my creation. Of course, I could save everything, but I don't want to destroy everything. I don't want to punish anybody. I'm not here to punish anybody. I just want you to turn around and take the tree back from the many, very separated, to the many less separated, to the many who feel that they're interacting with each other and care for each other because they know at that point already that they are each other. So what you feel to a child when he's very small. You don't feel that your baby is separated from you. You feel it's part of you. Eventually, as they grow older, the perception changes. And then we make love with him, and we're going to create a new world together.
Right.
Which is the ultimate creation. He's hoping for that. This was this world here. This is the most experimental creation that the one has ever done in all of these attempts. And you have to understand, for the one, this is important. He's playful, so he likes to play a whole bunch of situations to see how he puts himself in the bind. It's not nice to say, but the one likes to put himself in the gorse of binds and then try to figure out how to get out of it. With the elements that he has operating around him and through him. He's like he has a great sense of humor, and but he's also the ultimate risk taker. He has to be. That's how he evolves. Right. And then when I say he, I don't mean a male. I mean an active part. Okay?
Yeah.
He means somebody that's active. The female is more the partner that he puts energy into it and then projects. She also takes care. The mother is as important as he is because it's him. The mother is not separated from him, especially not on the higher level.
Okay, let's bring it home now and talk about every individual out there. Like, what meditative practice do you recommend? How do they experience remote viewing like you did? Okay. Talk a little bit about that.
The way we started teaching remote viewing is that we were trying to put people what I call theta. We're trying to quiet the human brain, like the monkey mind. So we're trying to quiet the brain. Believe it or not, when the brain is quieter, you have access to the big brain, which is much bigger than this brain. It's on the other side, and it encompasses much more, usually the whole creation, at least this creation. So you want to, in order to access this, you have to stay quiet. This famous saying, stay still and know that I'm still and know that I am God. In other words, still your mind at this level here. It will come back, don't worry about it. And it's going to try to interfere. It's going to tell you suddenly weird thoughts are going to come, or negative thoughts are going to start scratching, because it's the ego fighting for recognition. The ego is afraid of losing itself into this gigantic ocean. And the reaction against this is normal because that's how we were created. But if you persist, then you basically cajole, the ego, like you would do to a child. So do not be afraid. If it's even beautiful. Not only that, you can look at the reward you can get. You remain with me, and I'm not going to lose you. Your personality stays, and we're going to be together. This is we take on together. You really talk to your ego. So talk to your ego and calm them down. Otherwise, he's going to block you. He's going to find all kinds of excuses. Like you said, he's going to blow the electricity, break your computer. They have powers because it's not just you, it's the lower part of yourself.
Right.
Can influence a lot. And it can call help, if it wants to do this thing. So all the problems with humankind is that ego lately, in general, he's afraid of reuniting with the rest, thinking that it's going to be drowning in an ocean. No, he doesn't have a scuba diving outfit, and then he's going to drown in the ocean. He likes it over here. What he knows is safe, even though it's difficult, and it wants to stay around here. Plus, through the process of what you call reincarnation, and I don't call reincarnation, because for me, only the one reincarnates. But let's say the ego is not so afraid of going back to and then we're projecting into something else, even if it's in different mixture. Okay. However, for the one, this is a problem. It's a major problem, and he cannot talk to the ego. He cannot say, "Oh, big God, coming here talking to you. Please do not be afraid of us." Because it's our role to calm down our ego,
right?
And not to reject it. The more you fight your ego, is the more the ego will fight you. This is you. So do not all the time be obsessed with changing your personality and opposing it and saying, I'm going to go beyond the ego and I'm going to drop the ego. Because if you drop your ego right now, you won't exist as a human. Right. You can't. The whole question is to keep your ego, which is basically who you are and the memory banks that are attached to you, and cajole it like a little child, telling him and improving to him, because as you are starting to have experience, the ego is going to have experiences with you, and then he goes, "Oh, it's not so bad. It was nothing. It's beautiful." And I came back. I'm not done. So I'm willing to do this. So you go to what I call theta. Theta is the border of sleep.
Okay.
Your subconscious has many levels. You have what we call basically the ego is the subconscious. It's not a conscious mind. The conscious mind is your awareness. That's it. That's all it is. The and this is your awareness combined with your senses and your experiences. Okay, so you're constantly creating within the experiences, the senses, and then the system here. But as you get to that level, you're accessing the program, which is your ego. It's a program that makes you what you think you are usually, and what the ego certainly thinks you are, and what people, so to speak, on the outside, which doesn't really exist, but the people that you see, other facets, look at you and they see the facet. So your facet is important. So when you get to that deep theta level, you're right on the border of sleep. You have access to the program. That's the secret of hypnosis. And you reprogram it.
Right.
But you don't reprogram it by imposing it. You cajole it into this. And now we're going to feel great. And then this is what we're going to do. And this is wonderful. And I'll show you how beautiful this experience is. And you don't have to be afraid of this. And then you can be in a better mood and then open up to, and take him out of fear, which is dividing. Because division is what is killing us as humanity.
Right.
It's only caused by fear. Fear of the, so to speak, stranger across. When you perceive someone as being strange or different, the ego has a tendency to look for people that think like him, set up a group for power, and then attack the other one, because they're afraid that entity could overcome it, or especially if they have high intelligence, or they have a great quantity of numbers, whatever it is, whatever excuse they're going to give.
Yeah.
not realizing that that one is a different facet of the one. The same way as light and darkness exist, you have people that are white, people that are black, people that are yellow, people that are red. I mean, that's the beauty of creation. You know, I've never seen a black cat attacking a white cat. So how do you dare come next to it? That doesn't exist. Just humans can have these crazy things happening to them.
Yeah.
So this is a big moment now because of the way creation. The one when he creates, puts conditions within the operating system, so that even though he doesn't operate within time, he doesn't operate within time. He puts within the framework of situations time limits and situational limits that can cause him to be forced to close down the show. Otherwise, he would stay forever doing it.
Right.
That's his challenge. It's our challenge too, because we're facing a natural world that's collapsing. We're facing economical systems that are totally dysfunctional. Families are dysfunctional. People are going literally mad. All this is because of nobody wants yet to turn around and face the fact that they are each other. They are each other. The animals know it. You know, they respect each other's property, but they don't go killing just freely for no reason. That's almost unheard of in the animal world. Humans will do that because of fear. They have a tremendous fear, and it's an irrational fear, but at the same time, it's extremely rational when you understand the power of the separation of the ego here. It's very strong.
Okay.
Everybody is asking you, what's your name? What have you done? What is your diploma? I've never seen animals, they're going higher. It's irrelevant to that.
Yeah, it creates more separation.
It creates by far more separation. Yes.
So while you're communicating with your ego and you're building this relationship with the ego, which is also another aspect of you anyways, it's you.
Yeah. Personality is your ego.
So you're building a relationship with ego. Now God, like, when I think of God, I think of omnipresent, omniscient, I think of all-knowing, I think of, how is it that God with those kind of definitions has challenges?
Because that's all he loves to do. The harder the challenge, the more he loves creation. I mean, I remember many years ago when something happened, and this is not to be discussed openly. Something happened which looked like a major tragedy at the level of creators. They were all going crazy. This is never going to make it. How could this even happen? The one wasn't concerned because personally, I think he made this happen. He wanted to be challenged to the tilt. Why he has no salvation for it. When he cannot save his creation doesn't save him. This has never happened before. In your creation, you went top down. You have more energy on the top, less energy on the bands, because they're all bands. And then in between the bands, there is nothing. There's like white energy, no energy, no energy, and then it goes down like this. That's all on purpose. Sometimes they connect for a moment and then they disconnect just to get information, but they're not supposed to. Right. The higher level will rule over the lower level. So he could always rule over a creation and then influence the mind and think for them. You could make them think so that they are cured, or he could change the whole system. So suddenly there are miracles and everything gets fixed. And he got bored with this. He said, I have to find a way where I'm stuck in my own creation, where my creatures have to understand that they are their own saviors. I will give them all the help in the world. And as they climb back in perception, because you only climb in perception. There is no electrical plug that you can plug yourself in, and you climb in perception.
Right, I hear you.
The ladder of creation, back to the one. I will look at them, and they will look at me, and their power is going to be infinite. Not so much from them, it's because every single thought they want to, if it fits my plan, if it fits what I want, it's going to happen. The manifestation is going to be like this. Right now, it doesn't happen because we are more focused on the what I again, I'm thought form.
You're more focused on the impossibility of the manifestation than the possibility of the manifestation.
First of all, you're more focused on the negative. You always say it's probably not going to work. Then it's not going to work. You know, it's like the scientists who say this gonna be, it's not going to work. We need a double. The moment you have skepticism, they don't understand that their skepticism is creating a negative result. It's in the mind. Their consciousness, the observation, by being skeptic, is creating a negative result, of course, because they're creating their own science too. Right. If they believe in it, they could create incredible things, but they have to be open-minded. Get out of the box. The secret to creation is get out of your box. You're always in a mental box. Everybody is. That box can change dimension, but what the one is looking for you is to get out of the box. And that's when new worlds open to you. And as they open to you, you can bring others to them too. So you have to start thinking outside of the box. And we all have to do this. So whenever we see a box, instead of saying, oh, it's very, very comfortable, I like this house, my yacht is doing well, or whatever, my system of beliefs is fantastic, and all I have to do is invoke a certain name, you know, and everything will be gifted to me. All I have to do is meditate so much, or all I have to do is pray 5 times a day, whatever your system is. No, don't do that. Just get outside of the box, because you are the savior of your creation. And your creation is your environment here. This is your creation. And it's not about you going to work more. Of course, you have to act. First the thought comes, and then comes the action. But the power of your thought, you don't realize the power of your thought. You don't realize when you go into a room and then you have this fear. You know, like Jesus said, a divided house cannot stand. Of course. And it will not stand. So if you go into a business and you meet people and you already are in a defensive mood, which means that you show fear, which is one hair away from violence, if something goes and opposes you, you cannot operate and create anything solid, because you're still stuck into your mental, you know, prison.
Right.
Unable to start. I remember once my son told me something which is very profound. He said, every single time I meet somebody else, I don't think about myself. I've learned one thing, because he went through a lot in his life. He said, I immediately go into that person, look at me from their perspective. I try to understand them. This is an enormous power that we should all apply. And as I stay them, and I'm talking, but in my mind, I'm inside their eyes looking at me. I'm trying to see how they see me. But with their perspective, I start understanding them, because they're really me.
Right.
Not in a theoretical way, in a reality way. They're me with a different ego, or a different perspective. Mm-hmm. So as I understand their perspective, I'm not afraid anymore. And then we become friends. I mean, I can tell you, the last time I was in Jerusalem, I do a lot of work in Jerusalem. It was in July of 2019, before COVID started. So I went up to the Temple Mount, and I've been doing this for, at that point, it was 20-something years.
So it's your kind of pilgrimage every year?
Yeah, because there's a reason there for that.
Okay.
There's a special portal. You have to keep that portal operative and non-operative. There are things that can go through it, and other things that should never go through it. So I went there, and I almost got lynched by not the Israeli police, but the Palestinian police, because I took my shoes off. Okay, just an example. I took my shoes off. And they became extremely, I don't know, there was something in the air. Personally, I think that it was set up to test my fear.
Right.
So they came to me, they tried to hit me, and I said, not on holy ground. And then they were saying, okay, let's fight outside. I said, I'm not fighting outside, this is holy ground. I said, why don't you let me, every year I come here and take my shoes off. I was told by the one, take your shoes off.
Right.
Because you have to connect, I'm sending energy to you, and then they have to go into the ground, and vice versa. You become a conduct. So I went, I'm sorry, you know, and they were like literally close to lynching. I mean, I could see in their eyes, you know, most people would have been panicking, screaming. And so I went inside of myself, put myself around. I was out of myself, basically. let my ego go. And so the guy, you know, shook me or almost punched me. I didn't care. And then I started thinking that I love him. But it's not just like you said that. Did it in the same way I do it to a German Shepherd that I see in the street,
yeah,
attacking me. I've done this many times. I've done this to tigers, lions, whatever. If you have no fear, I mean zero fear, and then you love them as who they are, even though they're not humans, they say they're shepherds or to be a lion. The animal, and I've done this so many times. The animal comes down because they read you, they're part of you, really.
yeah, yeah.
Whomever you think is outside is really inside of you, not your body, but your world. So they're part of you. Because that world is protected from you, so it's part of you.
Right. This world wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for you.
Yeah, not the universe, but your bubble of reality.
Yeah, I get
all
you.
the bubbles connect. You know, the bubbles of reality connect. They intersect. That's your world. It keeps on changing. So as the animals do that, they come down and then they caress you and they love you. It's immediate. So I did the same thing there. Within 5 minutes, I was the best friend. The whole place. They told me even though you're not allowed to go in the mosque, because there's a mosque there, let me go and take pictures for you. I've never had anything like this. So they went inside, they took pictures. Then there are certain geometrical structures. It's a very, very, very holy place that no one has until today has been able to understand. And I took one of the guides because he needed money for it. You know, it was an Arab guide and nobody was really coming. And I saw other guides that were other foreigners and Christians or Jews were coming out and explaining. And I understood that they didn't understand what it is. So I said, listen, you know, Musa, like Moses. You know, I said, Musa, come here. I'm going to do something. With this, your life is assured. And I explained to him what the meaning of those geometrical figures and how they connected to the building around it, you know, the columns and so forth, and what they meant. And he went, oh my God. He said, I've never heard somebody as spiritual as you. And I said, okay, we'll be best friends. The next day, I had to leave the next day. So the next day morning, I show up like at 7:30, they open me up. And I'm there with my sneakers again. I go up. And as I'm walking, and the sun is rising, which is gorgeous because you have this golden sun. It looks like everything becomes gold. So I'm walking on the esplanade, and suddenly I feel like my shoes are like glued to the floor and they're flopping. So I look, both my soles had disconnected from the shoe. I was walking naked. So it was the one saying, if I tell you, take off your shoes, take off your shoes.
Right. And so because you didn't, they did it for you.
Right. So
let's talk about this communication to the one. When did it start and how did you develop it?
I did not really develop. It came, I always had it in my mind, not out of a religion, but I would just always, you know, my mind talked about it or feel like kinship. But when I was much older, in my 30s, I had a gigantic experience one day. I was married and I was sitting on the floor and my ex is talking to me and suddenly I can't hear her. There was like total silence. And I knew something was cooking. Like there was silence beyond silence. It's not like, and I knew I'd suddenly got deaf.
I think I've had that experience, yeah.
You had that?
Yeah.
It's just total silence. You can be talking, it's like you're not there anymore.
You're not there. Yeah, I know.
Those senses are gone. They only keep a sense of inner vision. So the outer vision is basically yes. So I went on the couch, and boom, I went up. And I found myself inside the one, really. That you cannot even explain. After that, I was not the same. When I came down, my hair turned white for a young man within 3 hours today. And my aura was going so far off that people were feeling uncomfortable. I had small children. I would go to the park and everybody would start getting quiet, you know, because you could feel something was passing by. And that was my first experience. And then there are many more of it. You never get the same experience twice, you know that.
Yeah, I have to say that's true too, because all the experience I have had, they've only happened once. They're always a different experience.
Always a difference. And they prepare this because for them, experiences are very important. For the metaphors metaphysics, the teaching that comes through an experience can only be given through the experience. And for them, that's a holy moment.
Right.
And they, as creative beings, they want to make it a magnificent experience, but they will not repeat it, you know. So if you had it, just absorb as much as you can, remember it, and make it yours, and then go on to other experiences. When we have our course, this is interesting because
tell me about.
I was doing a lot of remote viewing when I started because it was right after 9/11. I was remote viewing right and left, and I was in touch with the FBI in Miami. We were looking for something. My best remote viewer was in India. He was an American guy, and I've never seen anything like this. This guy was like a walking satellite. I would follow him on Google Earth because we didn't know where we were, and I would see exactly what he was saying.
Right.
And he would describe, and then we found a lot of things. I don't want to get into the details. Problem was that I had attracted a lot of attention for other reasons, from the intelligence community here and then foreign intelligence. I didn't know about the foreign ones though. So since he was in India, he got contacted by somebody very close to Putin. There was the head of the security services there. And they asked him to talk. So he called me up and he said, they wanted to talk to me. I said, don't get into this because if you're too good, either they're going to put you into a dungeon and you never come out, or you won't exist because they're afraid that you're going to start doing work against them. So he said, okay. And then within 10 minutes, I get a phone call from an FBI agent saying, we know about what happened. Please, can you ask him to go to the meeting? Well, to make a long story short, because this lasted for a while, he died. And I didn't know. No. I was in the middle of my meditations and I put off everything, including the phone. And then I found out he had called. He wanted me to do a healing. And I'm a very powerful healer. At that point, I was like incredibly connected. So I could have healed it really. And this has always remained on my heart. It was a beautiful soul, beautiful. And he died of cancer, and I don't think it was a coincidence.
And you weren't able to help him.
No, but I think that they did something to it. You know? I don't know who's dead, but whatever.
So basically, having this power you can use it for good and evil. Basically, is all I'm trying to say, right? The power can be used to harm as well.
You mean they did a remote viewing to try to kill him? No, I think there was a substance of it.
Okay.
Something. I don't think they did it like that. Yeah, of course, like everything else. There is no evil is what is not in our best interest and will deviate us from unifying with the one.
Yes, of course.
You don't want to share. You don't want to care for others. You don't have empathy. You want to take care only of yourself.
Right.
You don't tell the truth because you become a liar because the basis of creation is truth, information. And if you start distorting truth, you're a part of the anti-force which creates the separation. That anti-force is right now extremely powerful because it knows it's done.
Right.
As a force. I'm not saying that it will die, but it won't have much to do because at this level, so it's fighting for its last breath to be able to separate again so that, you know, God forbid should the one reunite the creation and his children become a family again.
So when you're in fear, you might exercise some of these, let's call them evil acts. Yeah, because usually when you exercise any of these acts, whether it's lying or hurting someone or whatever it is, it's because you feel there's some kind of threat towards yourself.
Right.
And so in that moment, instead of doing that, you would turn it around to put your consciousness on the other side, and that would change your reality.
Yes, you should do that. They say if somebody comes to aggress you, I mean, I'm talking for myself. I cannot experience what other people experience.
I understand, yeah.
I would ask them, quiet your mind, take a deep breath, you know, get out of the situation. Do it at least for 5 minutes, you know, until you're getting all worked up, and then bringing the energy of fear, because that's really fear. Somebody is provoking you, you're afraid, and by being afraid, you get the red energy, which is the energy of anger coming in, and then before you know it, you're angry, and then you might flip into violence. You are the lowest chakra possible. You're not connecting to the highest, and then you're using that energy just to go, you know. And most of the time, the so-called threat is an illusionary threat. Right. It's not even real. It's in your mind. It's a threat. Those people are a threat. This system is a threat. I've heard that the system is a threat. He's not agreeing with what I said, therefore I should destroy him. This is what's happening lately. It's really serious. And then the messages that I got, I don't know, did you read the last message from the one? He's really disturbed from that because he's been trying through messages. Usually the one operates in two ways. If you read all the Bible, that's the way he does. He operates through messages and through what we think are miracles. In reality, all he does is he breaks down certain laws of nature for a little while, and then things happen, you know, like suddenly the mountains and big earthquakes, whatever. And this is usually, in the old times, they knew this. They knew that this was a message from either the gods, if they were still at the level of thinking of multiple gods, and even though they knew that there was a supreme God, but they thought they would never communicate with him. And so they thought the gods were angry, and they were trying to understand why they're angry. And usually they would understand, okay, it's because the way we behave. And then they would go into repentance. The whole, you know, if you read all the old stories with the Romans, the Greeks, and then the Bible, that's all it is. So, but now you do this, and they go, it must be whatever illusionary or maybe real to some extent, never to the full extent. A machine has done this. It's the New World Order or whatever. You know, so he has no way of doing pressure on them. He's not going to give them more power, because if he gives them more power, they're going to destroy the world on their own. Right. He wants them to save their world. He wants them to bridge it. The whole idea when you have separation in the world is to create bridges. All the bridges that you can across humans, between man and nature, across all the civilizations, across all the religions, across the people who don't believe in religion and the people that believe in religion, embrace them. It's fine. You know, there's no need to get afraid or be angry at that.
Yes, of course.
Create bridges, and then it will change. Everybody will change, including you. Your system will change. You will not look at them in the same way. If you want to understand a civilization that you don't, go live with them. Spend 2 months living with somebody. Seriously. You know, take off for 2 months. Right now it's easy because most people don't know what to do. And pay to go live with the group of people that you think is about to take over and destroy you. Live with them. I guarantee you 2 months later, as you're experiencing that, your fear would lower itself by 90%, and you're going to suddenly become friends, and then you will never be able to go back to that same system of thought. And you're not going to go kill these people. We're not going to go to the 30s or the 40s when the whole world was like banging each other for 2 reasons. Number one, the weapons we have right now are too powerful, and we will destroy ourselves, period. The earth itself is being injured to even though you think it's an illusion within the system, the one has restricted itself within cause and effect. There is no cause and effect for the one. It doesn't exist. But he will not get out of cause and effect on purpose so that he restricts himself in the experiencing of the many. Right. Otherwise, it will become like a joke. Say, oh, and then they wake up in the morning and goes, why am I fighting? I love you, you're my beloved. So what do I care? Here's some more money. He's not going to do it. Because the whole creation has been, he wants the children to go back to it. Right. And especially unite first. They got to unite among themselves. And then it was a big party. I mean, this is not a joke. There was I believe. The Last Supper has never happened yet. That's the Last Supper before they go up to a new reality that then they create together with the one.
Yeah, so like when we talk about the Greeks and the Greek gods and stuff like that, I believe that everyone back then was more intuitive than we are now, of course. So when they communicated with God, they would visually see God. And because everyone had their own experiences of what God was, Now it appeared to the many as though there was many gods, but it was really just the one God, manifesting in various ways to the various
tentacles, different facets.
Exactly.
One has to take care of the underworld. One has to take care of this. One is less of love. The other one is like a strong, powerful figure. It's him. It's just all the characters that he needs in creation that appear as different facets. Yes.
Absolutely. So,
but the problem, the main problem is the two forces, and they need to exist. There are only two forces. One is love, which is building bridges, and the other one is fear, which means separating. And in order to create fear, you need to create systems that allow for separation. You need to create different colors, different cultural background, different religions. Even though they're all related, they all say, oh, we all believe in one God, but my God is smarter than your God, and I will kill you because my God is not your God. You don't have the real truth. So he has to create that or allow the creation of it, because that's how people will separate. But after he's done this enough, he goes, okay, that's time, because I'm getting I'm worn out. I want to go back and do something much nicer. Because you have had the experience, and through you, I've experienced this. I forced myself to focus on this creation and learn through you what separation, the damage that creation will do upon my being and upon your being. And I want you to be happy. I want you to have beautiful families, a beautiful nature, and then not be sick and tense,
Yeah.
Everything we're doing right now is the end of a stage. That's over. It doesn't matter. Hopefully, we will be able to turn around and see God face to face, like Moses saw.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. When you have this picture, when he extends his finger, you will always meet God halfway. Whatever you are, if you're very low, he's going to meet you. If you
the one with Adam and God,
Yeah, right. Adam being us. So we have to look at each other face to face, and as we connect, really connect, there's a connection then on me. The world changes like you will not believe it. I told you I experienced it in one day, but I was, that was me alone. I want all my family. I want them all to experience that.
Yeah, I've had my share of metaphysical experiences too, and still continue to. And I would, they're my best experiences in my life. There's nothing like them, of course,
nothing.
right?
No, I will win the lottery tomorrow. Nothing. This is this priceless.
Yeah, exactly, and the communication that's building or growing or whatever it is, that relationship is just, it's like you say, priceless, and it's never ending. Like, it's always developing. It's not something that's going to go away, and it's not something that ever feels temporary. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in a relationship with another person, you may have that feeling of temporary, but you don't have this with this. It's
no, because first of all, it's totally transformative, and then it's just one step of the ladder.
Right.
Now you know how we climb the ladder. We do.
Yeah.
Some people do 2 steps up and 1 step down. We always have a step down again. Some people do 1 step up and 3 steps down, so that they wonder, hey, how come I'm going lower? You have to be committed to this, but it's not a hard commitment. It's let go. Don't go against the current of love and truth. There's 2 things,
Right.
And my first message that I received from the one, he said, "I'm truth." He was explain. It's on the website, 1991. He explained exactly the whole process that we're undergoing as a creation, and he was saying, "My name is truth. I want people to know my truth. I want to reveal who I am to them, so they understand me and don't make up stories about me, because the stories are not me. I want them to feel me. I want them to be totally experiencing me, so that they found their family. They found their source. And I will feel them in me. So there's nothing that could make me more joyful than this." And he already knew this, and he said, "I'm truth." And in the word on Hebrew for truth is not the famous and then met means death. So it's 3 letters. M means mother. The Om is mother, by the way. Say, I'm the one, the A, M is the many, and T is the last letter. It's a stop. So I go from the beginning to the alpha to the omega, and I'm the mother who holds you inside my womb. You're not outside. You cannot be outside. If you be outside of God, you don't exist. I'm not spreading myself outside of me. You are me, but I'm fractalizing myself inside. Inside of me. I can go as far as I want, as long as you can function. But right now, you're not functioning here anymore. And this is my favorite creation, because I've done things here in order to bring the illusion to a level that's unbelievable. So I want you at least make an effort, unite, don't go for all the fear stories. And if you feel fear, like I've been exposed to fear and violence a lot of times, you have no idea. I have wounds like, you have no idea. But just control it. There's nothing is gonna happen to you if you control it. You can turn around somebody that really supposedly.
Well, when I talk to you, I get that James Bond feel. So I imagine you've been through a lot.
Yeah, I've been through a lot. No idea. Yeah, but what I've learned through this is that it's not that you fight fear. It's that you don't experience it. You don't accept it. You just go into a loving relationship. You don't have to say anything. It's in your heart. And do not love one more than the other. Just have this unconditional love first.
Yes.
And then, of course, if you're closer to somebody, then you have more connections and more. Now, that's something else. I'm talking about love. Just have love in your heart, because we are all here. We are one. We're not many.
Yes, yes.
That the one is always saying, I'm the one who created the many. That's how he says it. Because the words come out of me. It's not me. I'm gone. And from the beginning, he said, I'm the one who created the many. That is but one, not R. There's no R. The many still is. It's still one.
Yes, yes.
It's the being. The being. You're inside me. It's like you're fractalizing inside my enormous.
Yeah, even like in the Quran, it said, God said be, and it is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what's saying, and in Hebrew, when you said, you said, Ammar. It starts with the the vibration of That's the first vibration in creation.
Right.
He went from the one, the A, to the Ma, to the many. That's when things start happening. That's the Big Bang.
Right.
And he said, let it be light, whatever. And then at that point, everything is created.
Yeah.
So that's the reason the course is here. Because the course is, let's face it, okay? Now, 2021, people don't need to go remote view. Like they can do it. I can train them for remote viewing easily. But it's not, I want them to know about the future, like I know.
Yeah.
And it's almost disturbing, because I don't get any surprises anymore.
Right.
I'm only
you know what you're experiencing now.
Right. And they can get to that. It's helpful in life. When you meet people, you want to start a business, you want to get involved with in a relationship, you're gonna know immediately if that relationship 5 years down the road is gonna work or not. Not because right now it looks good. You're gonna see through it. And you ask. Asking is gonna be given not only as food or material things. The information gets to you. You get it. And you're not getting it from you, because it's coming something that to you may not make sense at that point.
Right. So tell us now about your courses. What courses are there? What are their purposes? And when someone is seeking, which one should they go with?
Okay, there used to be 2 courses. We started in the first course was created just when they here in this country declassified, supposedly somehow, because they call it declassifying, which is not totally declassifying. Remote viewing. Okay, so remote viewers came out of the army, of the CIA, the DIA, whatever, and they started opening their own schools. So I came out, but my approach was immediately different. First of all, it was not the US approach. It was not so focused on remote viewing. I knew I can do it easily, but I didn't want to do it. That was not what I was interested in. I wanted people to experience already to start going within. So they would start with alpha, which calms you down. It allows you to function all day long. You can be in alpha, which is like 10. There is a portal there. The number 10 is a portal. So you can heal, you can know things also. It's not as deep as the other. And then I told him, listen, most of the information, the deep information, the correct information is at the border of sleep. And that's the Greek letter theta. If you look at the letter theta, you have an oval with the separation in the middle. You are the separation. One is the outside world, one is your inner world. If you're able to function at the level of deep theta all day long with awareness, because you go through this every single night as you fall asleep. You go from beta, alpha, theta, then you have the hypnagogic. You've gone through this. You know, you have suddenly a whole bunch of imagery, then boom, into delta, you're asleep. So I said, if you can stabilize yourself at theta, your life will change forever. Because as you go along, you call onto your forces, or you change your programs so that you can apply them to life as it is and get correct information. Really, like you right there, you have this connection to the one. You have that connection. Use it. You know, it's like it's on your. You have a radio, and then I tell you this particular channel is the one. The others are different people. You know, they're talking the old parts of the one, but they have their own opinion, and then they're already modulated and distorted. But this is the one. Would you use it? Yeah, you would use it. This is it. So I'm asking, go to the deep theta level, and then start healing from there. Start connecting from there. Start doing. And most people, when even at that level, when we started teaching theta from the first course, people were having like tons and tons of spiritual experiences. I never told them they would have that. They would come and say, I saw the light. A guy broke his arm. He was working in construction. He went into a very deep state. He healed himself. They were going to do surgery when his arm was out of the socket. By the way, this happened to my son, so I do believe him. The guy, because I had the same thing with my son. The arm was out of the socket. They had to do a reduction. He was being wheeled to surgery. He said, no. You waited. It's on my website. He waited like half an hour, and they came back, and he was gone. And then they did an X-ray. The guys were like, thought that they had lost their mind, the doctors. Your power is unbelievable because you're already touching the power of the one, of the subconscious. And then the next course was remote influencing, where I start explaining the mechanism of creation, and I put you in what used to be before deep sleep, you know, the level of delta. Delta is a door. That's what it means. It's a doorway. It's a portal. And believe it or not, you can go up to 1 CPS. The brain can function like barely there. You know, suspended animation. The yogis do that. The yogis sleep. But it takes 20 years, 30 years of training. We were managing to do this in a couple of weeks. And people were experiencing that. That guys who were at EEG machines, you know, they would connect themselves with an EEG, and they would, as a matter of fact, I think they were traders or something. They were traders. The feedback is there. And they would test themselves. They were at one, with their eyes open, they were at one, and they didn't stop making money because they were manifesting. At that level, you really manifest. Because you get the power of the one. You're right there. And then, believe it or not, there is more. You can go beyond that. Thinking
beyond the delta state?
Of course. I've done it, but I'm not going to tell people because it's too dangerous. I don't want them to focus on that. That's the portal. You know, you're opening to the gigantic mind. Yes.
Like I've done it before where, so just want to talk a little bit about myself. So I've had numerous experiences too. And it got to the point where, I don't know, I was just practicing, you know, experiencing or feeling the different letters A to Z, then the different numbers 1 to 10. And I was able to experience them differently as different entities and recognize the difference. I also was able to, you know, transverse from alpha to beta to theta to delta, even delta, but it's temporary. It's not, I can't seem to sustain it.
Yeah, because it's hard to think on your own.
Right, I start to think.
Right, in other words, because you are in the gigantic mind, and the gigantic mind is not thinking of what job should you choose, really. So you're going down with a thought, and you like focus before it, and you go down into delta, and you go, I get the answer, and then suddenly you have no idea where you're doing that, and then you're quiet too. That's the level where you should really be quiet. And after a while, it takes a while. When you're used to being at that level, you can do anything. I've done healings on people. I don't want I have a friend of mine who is still in the army right now. He's one of my best healers. And one night he calls me up and then he says that his cousin just committed suicide. You know, he hanged himself when he was 18 years old. And they took him to the hospital and they said that he's a vegetable. They're going to take the machine off the next morning. So I went up, he went up, and I saw him healthy, and I got, he'll be okay. It'll take a day and a half, and perfect. So the next morning, they're about to take the machine, and they look, and then he's like reviving there. So they kept him. A day and a half later, they had done already an MRI or a CAT scan, and they saw damage everywhere. A day and a half later, they do the MRI again, normal brain. And then he had for stupidities, you know, he had a girlfriend that left him something, you know, when a lot of teenagers. Right. And then he's fine, everything healed.
So what's the difference between RV and RI?
Well, ultimately, okay, you remote view what you really want to influence, okay? But I'm not going to say that. Okay, so that's if you're really powerful. So there is not that much different. But as far as the way you do this, it's totally different, yes. Because you go much deeper for RI. Okay. You will not, it's almost impossible to do remote viewing from a Delta. Unless you have a monitor, but it's hard to stay in it. And I wouldn't advise it, you don't even need that. You have to have your critical factor to sense, you know, the information and if it fits what you want and then so forth. On that level, you're too deep inside the collective unconscious already.
So, like for example,
but that people ask me, how are we connected? You know, is it like waves in the air? I said, first of all, there is no air. It's an illusion.
Right.
There is no space. There is no time. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there is no movement.
Yeah.
When you're walking in the street, you think you're walking, right? In your mind, you're walking. Yeah. The whole scenery. It's like being inside a 3D game on a computer, but you're inside. Right. Everything is moving, and you think you're moving. It's fine, you know. And it feels like you're moving. You can get dizzy, and you can get hurt, and you can put your foot. But it's not real. It's just a movie, you know. So when you're operating from this level, you have to.
It's just a change of perception, right? Because you can shift your perception, and then you can, instead of you being the mover, you become the stationary, and everything around you moves, right?
Yeah, I teach that. I'm going to stop teaching that. I tell people. I just gave an example to somebody who needs that badly. I say, walk around. Imagine that your focus, everything is in your head. In fact, it's a point of reference. This is where your sensory focus is. You don't realize that the world around you is you too, but right now your sensory apparatus that's getting information, and that information is not through really vision like you think vision is. There is a whole ocean of particles that are vibrating and sending information, wave of information to your retina that goes decoded into electrical signals, and then you see, you know, it's created in the back of your head, who's giving an image. When you see the sun is not over there, it's inside of your head, it's being recreated. Otherwise, where would you need that? Just see, you know, because you cannot see unless you have that part of the brain decoding an electrical signal in total darkness and making it look like it's the sun.
Right.
This whole environment is created for you, but it follows rules that are extremely precise, and it fractals itself also because it's part of the one. So the rules are fractalized and then they reproduce from the macro to the micro. You find very similar rules. Okay, they changed a little bit, but they're there. You have universes within the micro, and then you see the same universes within the macro. But as you're doing this and you're going within, you shift, and then you start to learn how to shift constantly between all the points of your awareness. And I told them, walk around and or do a spiral, turn around. Now, when you turn around, you get dizzy, right? I said, don't imagine
like the whirling dervish kind of.
That's the reason for the whirling dervish do that. That is their secret. When the whirling dervish They are stable. They are the center of their universe. They understood that. There is no other center. Each dervish is the center of its own bubble universe. And it stays stable in that center. So the environment is made as a movie to change around them, and they change their perception where they see the world is turning, but they don't. They're like, totally, do you understand? At some point, you can do this.
Yeah.
You try. And this is a very important training so that you always focus, they say, not on yourself, on who you are. You're just a point of awareness for the one. You go nowhere. You have never, from the moment you were supposedly on the other side to here, you have gone nowhere. Just the mechanism of awareness has changed. So, and then if you can operate like this, you get more control on the environment because if you feel you're the center of your universe, then go ahead and create because the outside is really you.
Right.
Not projected from you as a senses because you're decoding the outside as being outside, projected from your big you, from your the soul level. It's projecting all this for you.
So then in the course, they'll go through, like, here's an example of something I've experienced. I was driving and I was in a traffic light. So it was at a red light at this time. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I hear the words, the light changes. Okay, so the light changes from red to green. And then I hear the words, change lanes. And I'm like looking around me, like, what is that, right? And I hear it again louder, change lanes. And it's a loud male voice. I'm still like wondering where this voice is coming from. And finally I hear it really loud and right in my ear, like really loud. I still don't do anything. And my hands all of a sudden, the wheel changes, my foot moves and the car moves, everything's done for me. Like I'm not doing it. It's whatever it was being done for me. And I'm in the next lane. As soon as this happens, everything I see is in slow motion, but I see glass flying. I see blood hitting the windshield beside me as I'm driving by too. If I was there, I would have been the one who had that experience.
Yeah.
But because this voice or whatever it was that happened, I wasn't in that experience, but I got to see it in slow motion and how devastating it was. Mm-hmm. And so I go past the light and there was a gas station there. So I just parked there and I was crying because like, why? Like, why did you pull me out of this? And why did these people have to have this experience, right? And so the question now arises to me exactly that. Why was there this experience for me to be out of that where they experienced this?
To save you. Your higher self wanted you to be saved. What are you talking about? You were hearing God. Your higher self being God. Can I ask you for a favor?
But why they not hear God?
Okay, I'll tell you what. Can I go to, can we interrupt for like 2 minutes?
Yes, of course.
You okay?
Yeah, I pause. Okay.
So what were we talking about the experience you had?
Yeah, we were talking about the experience I had.
Okay. Remember I told you that you started already?
Yeah.
You record?
Yeah, record.
The experience, remember I told you what I was training people for? It's exactly that. Because, okay, let me explain to you something. If you are not connected to your higher self, as you turn around in focus, okay? You focus within, it's not the body, it's focus within your thought level, because all God is thought, not even energy yet. It creates energy for creation. It vibrates itself and then creates enormous energy. Or it creates polarization, and then through the unification of the polar opposite, you have this explosion, it's like fusion energy. But through this connection, when you start connecting, this is just the language that the Bible uses in the New Testament and in the Old Testament. They say that you become alive. And, there's a whole story of the dead becoming alive. It's not only the night of the living dead walking around.
Yes.
That's totally ridiculous. No humans can think that. He said, the fact is when you are alive, so you have a connection and you interact with somebody, not just like hi, bye, you know, only interact for a couple of days. Your light goes into that. That connection goes into that. And then they can then at that point make the decision, if they make the decision to keep that light or just to let it go, in which case they go back down to being just connected to the level of the matrix as a projection, but facing outward towards the 3D reality. They're not facing their soul.
Right. Okay. Okay.
For them to be alive, they have to turn around and look at their soul. And this is like lovemaking. You're facing each other, and only humans do that, by the way. So everybody's talking about their twin soul. You know, like I want to find my twin soul is soul. This is who it is.
It's just yourself. It's your best opposite gender self, right?
Like the one that cares the most about you. And all the twin soul is looking for you is for you to turn around and make love, not physically, but make love in an unconditional love towards it, and then it will give you back. And at that point, you'll be like the animal they know in advance when there is danger.
Right.
They run away from it. Nobody understands how they do that. How do they know that you're about to come home half an hour before you come home? How do they know you're going to die and start howling before you do? How do they know to go up when they had the Phuket tsunami, and then all the animals, they went up the mountain, including the snakes, and they knew exactly where to stop. And then the ocean went up, it stopped right there. How do they know that? Because they connected to the higher self. The higher self being nature.
Right.
It's one. Right. Nature is one, really. So we don't have that yet. So there's something we have to develop. And at that point, it will save your life. So when I was training the special ops forces, and by the way, from what I understand, the SEALs in the US are using some kind of training like this. It's used.
Right. Okay.
They use that for their soldiers or special ops or intel operatives, so that they're going into a situation where people are waiting for them, and there's going to be
so they develop their precognition then.
Their precognition is very strong. But at the same time, they also taught how to project love. Believe it or not, you know, the SEALs, they project love so that they can deflate the situation and go through okay. So the real art of love is to make love to love.
Right.
It's much harder than to hate. You know, most people love to hate and they hate to love. No, you have to make love to love and hate hatred. That's godly.
That's the key.
That's the key. Yeah. So what you're
when I meditate, my physical body vibrates.
Right.
My physical body is like shaking. It's vibrating, and at the same time, like the experience is joyous. Like I'm smiling. I have I'm elated. I have a really happy feeling in my being. Yeah, but at the same time, my physical body is shaking. So
I don't control it. I wait. I've learned to be calm, and I could be, and then suddenly, it's like a UFO. I feel like I'm climbing up, and I can literally feel I'm climbing up, and then it stops in the stationary point. And I wait, another level. Yeah, that's how you go up. But you're not really doing it. It's orchestrated by the higher realm.
Right.
When they need you closer and they want you to feel a different level, they do that.
Right.
And eventually you're going to learn how to travel the mind of the creator. It's very interesting. It's like these are like nodal points in a gigantic matrix when you go from point to point to point, and you can create unique codes there. But that's not for.
I've taken a remote viewing course with Paul Elder. Or do you know who Paul Elder is?
Sure.
Yeah, his level 1 and level 2. I used to run a metaphysical store, and we used to have, various metaphysical practitioners come there and teach their courses. And so Paul, of course, when the students came, he said, you joined the course too. And so I got to experience that. I got to experience how a target is created, and how important your signature is to the whole thing and all that. But to me, it felt like the The ritual wasn't necessary.
No, I don't use a ritual. Exactly. I was saying that.
It felt like the ritual wasn't necessary and that it was almost a obstacle in the process.
Right, because you become, even though you say you're going to have an AOL, you don't want to have an AOL, but you become an analytical by just doing the ritual.
Right.
So
this idea of that he explained to me was you have to engage the left and the right brain for this to work. But do you? Because do animals, the animals don't even have that intellectual brain, yet they're even better at this process than we are. So they're not engaging their left and right brain, or so to speak. Do you know what I'm trying to say or ask?
Yeah, sure. Well, I know that if you want to, at some point when you vibrate, that it happens, it's not easy. When you've done an experience for many days and you're vibrating, you feel like the two parts merge into each other. They form like a vesica piscis. They're like,
right.
But there's really pressure on it. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's like physically there.
Yeah, it's physical. There's a physical, yeah.
Like they're like going into each other, and then you go into a totally different level.
Well, I tend to break myself out of it because it gets too intense.
Exactly. And I made the mistake many times not to break because I thought I was like Superman incarnated. And, you know, there've been like physical consequences because I was going too far.
Right.
You know, but I could do it. But that was when I was so younger. But yeah, now I still do it. I just had an experience now when I gave a message the 31st of December, but the one came through and said what will happen next year in general. And that's why it happened. I went up, and boom, the two sides merged, and then I started talking.
So what about when it comes to meditation? Like there's different types of meditation, right? There's silent meditation where you meditate on a word, or there's toning, and there's, you know, walking meditation, all kinds of meditations out there. What does it matter which kind of meditation do you do to silent your mind? Or is there a better way, or do you even need to do that? I mean, people meditate. Do you meditate every day? Do you meditate?
Usually in the morning, yeah.
In the morning. So a good hour of meditation every morning?
Yeah, so 30 minutes, 40 minutes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's an important part of this. There's no getting around that then.
It's not a question. It's a question of hygiene. You should really do it twice. Before you go to sleep, meditate on the day, and then do a cleansing.
Right.
Do a ritual within. You cleanse it, and you see all the tension and all the stuff. And then prepare your next day. And when you get up in the morning, prepare it again and as you go through the day. And then put some principles of what you want to be joyful, no matter what happens. And you know, if you see tragedy around you, you know things are going to pass and everything will be fine.
Right.
And whatever you need to do at that point. So I really, but you don't have to be totally in total silence. I mean, I can walk. Sometimes when I walk, I enjoy very much because I connect to trees. I don't hug them because they will shoot you here. So I talk to them. They don't realize it.
Right.
But I do speak to the trees, and I get incredible. And they have every tree has a different personality. It's unbelievable.
Right.
I can tell.
So you're really living your life with nature then.
Not as much as I would like to, because there isn't that much nature left anymore in Florida. But yeah, I do. I miss nature a lot. Definitely, I have to admit that the place in the world that I felt nature like never before is Africa. It's like it was the energy of nature, but that's many years ago. It was so powerful. I was totally in the high.
So there's people who have experiences in nature with fairies and things like that. Then there's people who have experiences of UFOs and otherworldly beings. And then there's people who have experiences of angels and angels talking to them, and then they call themselves mediums and this genre of reality. So what creates these realities for people? Why would somebody be able to communicate with a fairy while another a UFO or an alien being, while another an angel? Is it simply yourself, your own consciousness communicating with yourself
You give
in
yourself.
whatever form that's appropriate for you?
Absolutely. I asked that question in 1989 when I was getting a book downloaded, and I told the creator, and I said, "Why do people get, angels, and some people get talk to the devil?" He said, "Because your higher self cares for you, and then if you're expecting the devil to show up and you will listen to that, your higher self is going to show you the devil. You want a 3D, you get a 3D. You want an alien, you get an alien. You want an angel to appear, or Michael, or whatever you choose, you're gonna get that. You want Jesus to show up, you're gonna be there, because they know you're gonna listen at that point.
Right.
They're not gonna send you Muhammad if you're part of the group consciousness that believes in a certain religion, or vice versa.
Right.
So, because the purpose is to help you. It's always the purpose of the higher self. It's you. It's the part of you that wants you to make it.
Right.
To turn around and then stop the process. She cannot do that unless you turn around and you face her, your soul.
Right.
And then as you do this, it starts, it starts contaminate. Well, not contaminating. It starts exploding at all the higher self of your higher selves and higher self, and then it goes up to the level of the world.
And so somebody who's somebody who's a lover of Christ will experience Christ, and to the point where if they experience Muhammad, they will experience a lesser Muhammad. Whereas someone who's a Muslim may experience a higher Muhammad and a lesser Christ.
Right, they're going to say Satan. They're going to say Satan came to me. Because within our logic, within our programs, it's already programs. Cultural programs usually from birth. Some people have changed religions or whatever, or because they moved somewhere. But most people, it's from birth, or they could have been converted in some way or another. That's what they expected. So it's shown, and then for them it's a confirmation, and then it becomes really powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
So
in reality, their faith is not a faith in that particular personality. It's a faith in themselves. They get faith in what they've been told, and then faith that this has to happen. This is what I need to do. So they really have faith in their own self, and by not questioning it at all, it happens. They manifest it. And miracles happen.
So curious, who do you play chess with?
Myself.
Do you really? Wow.
Yeah. Have you ever seen there was a cartoon that explains creation? What was the name of it? I can't remember. I wish
Calvin and Hobbes?
Huh?
Calvin and Hobbes?
No. It's a guy playing chess. And one is the devil and one is God.
Oh, interesting.
And they all play, and he explains creation. Of course, God dies first because he's too good. And then the devil realized.
Oh, that was a movie, right? They made it's a movie.
It's small. It's not. It's like 5 minutes. It's made in France, I think.
Okay.
It's really a story of creation. I thought it was one of the deepest messages I ever got. Yeah, watching them.
There's a movie like that too with Robert De Niro and Samuel Jackson, I think it was. And they're actually physically playing chess, and they're God and the devil.
And they what?
And it's God and the devil, and they're playing chess, and it's Samuel Jackson, and I believe it's Robert De Niro.
Well, who do you think the devil is?
Who do I think the devil is?
Yeah.
The worst aspect of me, whatever it is.
No, it's not. It's the part that allowed for division. His specialty is to divide people, to create systems where people will never remember who they are. God created a part of himself that he projects there, and he says,
because there is no other. There is no. I mean, evil, good only exists in the world of duality. So there is no good and evil, really, right? Because there is no duality.
Well, at the highest level, there is no duality, but at this level, everything is based on duality. If you want electricity, you have to put a polar plus, a polar negative. The more the voltage difference is higher, the more current will circulate to the two. Same thing, you need a male and a female to create the baby. Here, you need evil has to exist together with good. Now, the purpose of evil multiple. One is to separate people more and more and more and more, and they're getting tested. And interestingly enough, I don't understand that. That's one question I've always said. When the devil is really functioning and really active, you can tell when it is. You know, let's talk about the Second World War or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll suffer like they've never suffered before.
Yeah.
At all levels. The ones that are torturing the others and the torturers themselves.
Yes, yes, of course.
They don't suffer. And they don't see it. Nobody's turning around and going, hey, wow, we're killing each other. We're brothers and sisters. We have the same blood in us. We have the same DNA. We come from the same. You know, we're going to go back to the same. So it's that
because they're at the highest form of separation at that point, right?
Right. So it's a test for the one to see what is this level. It's not an entity, it's a level. And that level, what is it going to invent? What system is it going to invent? Are we going to do cloning now? Are we going to bring the story of the ETs? Because there are universes that are here. They can appear the way they want. Are we going to, and they could be good ETs, but of course, bad ETs. You know, we're going to have intergalactic fights. And this can go on like forever. This planet cannot. So what the one he's saying now is a message. He said, I'm not going to let you go into intergalactic. You're not going to Mars. This is your place. Fix your place. Then you can go anywhere you want. But for right now, if you don't fix your place, this is it. Done. Because you have not shown enough love, enough mercy upon each other, and especially the environment that's been gifting you life and nutrients forever. So if you cannot even get to that level, and it's so difficult to have you turn around, I'll let go.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I understand. I mean, but that's a painful thing for the one, because there's a lot of work that went into doing this. So the devil is going to stay playing chess with nobody. So it's not going to be fun.
So what about near-death experiences and these experiences that people have? Are they simply reset points in their lives, or are they experiences that they're actually having?
I've had so many near-death experiences, and again, every single one was different. So I cannot. Again, I'll give you an example of what you said. You said if you expect Jesus, you're gonna find Jesus. People are very, very religious and Christian. When they die, they'll see Jesus. The higher self is presenting to the lower self as they go through the conduct, to the tunnel, until they end up realizing who they are and take off the 3D virtual reality movie going, oh, that's what it was, you know? They come back to themselves, basically, and they reunite as one.
Right.
While this is happening, you see your whole life. I've experienced it. You see your whole life. You don't see your life linearly. It cannot be explained because you're operating now in the implicate world, not in the. So I saw my whole life, every single smell, every single word, every single touch, but compressed into one, and I never questioned. There was nothing missing. Every single word I had said, all at once. It's like a packet of information, but you absorb all of it. That's how the soul works.
Right.
There's no linear operation. It feels linear somehow, but it's not. So I saw my whole life. Then I had to go back to whatever, so I went back. But the other times, nothing. I'm just, my body is dead, and I'm out, you know, and I'm totally conscious, unless I have my memories are intact, everything. And it's always different.
It's always different.
It's always different. It's given to you in a way by which you can absorb it.
Right.
You know, if I suddenly saw an Indonesian god in front of me, I go, oh, something is not right there.
Right.
Because I'm not expecting that.
Right.
But then God has a sense of humor.
Well, what does that mean? What does that mean when, like, oftentimes I wonder, because you have spiritual experiences, and then sometimes there'll be this red herring in your spiritual experience, like something, you know what I mean by red herring? Like something you don't expect, right? Something that, what is this? I've never thought about this. I don't even know this thing exists. What is this?
All the time. Everybody's asking me the same questions. I'm so high. Suddenly this disgusting image comes to me, you know. I'm like in the holy place. or whatever, you know. I've had worse than that. If you're asking me what it is, I think it's the ultimate test, because God is testing himself. He wants to see if you can laugh at fear, or images that you connected, and realizing the game is over. You have control over it. So if you go, okay, you're done because I want to continue, you know, then it's okay. But if you go, oh my God, you know, and then you start feeling guilt, there is nothing worse than feeling guilt. You cannot stay in front of God feeling guilt, because, and he told me this many times. He said, at our level, we never feel guilt. He said, if you felt guilt, he said, the Elohim would never create. He said, because you have no idea what we have gone through already in eternity, creations that have gone bad. And if we felt shame and guilt, we couldn't create. So whatever is in the past is in the past. We learn from it so that we don't repeat it, or we try not to repeat it. But guilt itself is something that we reject, because it's a lower, very low vibration, shame and guilt. And then you see all the religious people saying, oh God, will you forgive me? You know, yesterday I didn't do this, and then whatever. You know, for 20 years they're crying. And then usually they don't get an answer, because he doesn't want that. He wants them to go forward. That has to be, you know, supplication because of the past. He did his children. You know, when my son does something wrong, I don't want him to come back and say he feels so guilty. I want him to just change and then go forward.
Right. Got you. Well, this was amazing. I had a lot of fun talking to you. I had a lot of fun getting some questions answered. I hope you enjoyed it too.
I enjoyed it immensely. Thank you.
I'd love to do it again, because I think we could go on forever.
Yeah.
And go deeper.
And we bring it out, because it's important for humanity. They really need to get out of this, you know, the streak of shame and separations, and just accept variety as a blessing.
Yes.
I don't want to see the same sky all the time. I really don't. I don't want to see the same nature all over the world. I don't want to see the same people. I don't want to see the same culture. I don't want to see the same. This is magnificent. They all speak different cultures. Enjoy them. Go and visit them. You know, not in a Hilton hotel. Go visit in the islands. Live with them. You're going to see how different and appreciative you can be. If you're rich, go experience the poor or the poorest. If you're the poor, go experience the rich. See how so you don't have this resentment. Spend some time together. Things should be organized like this.
Yes.
You know.
Well, right now they've blocked us off completely.
Now we're blocked. That's a lesson for us.
Yes, of course.
Because we all turn into separation. We all say we're going to build walls. We're going to do separation. What do you think we want? Nature, especially nature, because we're destroying nature. Nature exists. It's a being.
Yes.
It's God. It's really, the Elohim is nature.
Yes, of course.
That's Mother Nature, and it controls not only this world. It controls all the worlds together. So imagine the intelligence of nature. You understand? The global consciousness of this creation controls the humans here, and some parts of nature, but not totally like this. This controls all the creations, all the parallel universes they call it. And this is immense intelligence of coordination. And it doesn't want, and everything affects everything. When we destroying our world here, we are affecting other worlds that we don't know, next to us, and so on and so forth. It goes everywhere.
I used to believe that aliens are basically us gone further into the future and then coming back to tell us to stop doing what we're doing.
Yes, there is always a lesson, even if it doesn't really exist as manifested. As it comes to you and you see them, they're trying to teach you a lesson. They say, do not go into technology, and especially when they want to mix technology with biology right now, you know, like a transhumanism or whatever. So do not become this, because you're going to lose your heart and you're dead. And then you're going to depend on, you don't have all the technology you need to travel across the world, but you're going to be miserable, and your creation is not going to make it, because it has lost its empathy and its humanity, real humanity, you know, the sense of humanity. And you're becoming robots. You want to be a drone. You just read your future, get more power.
But in a sense, it's the alien exercising its fears by doing that too, right?
You mean by coming back, or by?
By coming back.
I know. This is something I've met many of them. I try not to, because some of them were pretty aggressive. I never got the whole story, but I was told, don't go there, because if you go there, this is where you're gonna go, and then this is not necessarily a nice story.
Right.
instead of having one country or one bloc, you know, you started with city-states fighting, and then it became countries against countries. Then it became groupings of countries, like capitalism against communism. Now
Right.
then they're gonna go, oh, this planet against another planet. Then we're gonna have galactic federation against another galactic federation. This is like
It's just war.
the game of separation being extended to what we would think, and they will appear. You know, suddenly the planets are gonna appear, and the beings are gonna be here. And
Right.
nobody will say no, because if we turn it around and start connecting to the one inside, either this will not happen, or something totally different is going to happen. Yeah, there might be aliens. There's nothing wrong in experiencing. This is an adventure. You know, you can go to a different
Right.
world. That's okay, but not in terms of separation, fighting, and you know, one putting humanity in enslavement or vice versa. Where do we really want that?
No, of course not.
No.
Of course not. Okay, my friend. Thank you. I love you. Do you have anything you want to share that maybe I didn't ask you?
No, I was just to share the name of my website.
Please.
And okay, so it's www.probablefuture. It's interesting because from the beginning I called it the probable future. And you know, quantum physics is about probabilities.
Right.
You can sense which one is the most probable at any point of time, and we teach that. And the name of the course, which I really, you know, it's not, and I'm not trying to sell this because I'm trying to make money. Of course, we need money because it's like we need, right now we still need air if we can get it, because it's getting more and more expensive. The name of the course is The Portal.
The Portal.
It is, yeah, The Portal.
Wow, I'll have to join you in that course.
Read the feedback because it's really interesting. There's a lot to learn just from reading the feedback.
I will. Thank you so much. I really loved talking to you.
Love talking to you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
much love. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.